Hello and welcome to the Entertainment Biz Show presented by Vouch. I'm your host, Justin Jacobson. So as a reminder, nothing here is intended as legal advice, as all the information is for educational purposes only. Special thanks to our sponsor, Vouch. Vouch is a digital gig marketplace where talent and businesses can hire other pre-approved individuals to streamline talent searches and where industry dot connectors earn commissions for making talent referrals. Visit vouch-app.com to learn more about the world's first social utility network where it truly pays to know people. Hashtag ad. This week's guest is Scott McKenzie. Scott is an entertainment and fashion industry veteran who has worked as a tour manager for some of the world's largest acts, as well as worked as a talent and event production manager with global entertainment companies and lifestyle and luxury brands. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you. That's hot.
Right? I streamlined it in one succinct, this is what you are. You span it all.
No, that's good. I don't be knowing how to explain it. So that's good.
Right. So tell us about, your work in the entertainment industry. How'd you get involved and, what are some of the roles you've handled?
Yep. Hey, peace to the young world. My name's Great Scott. And I got in the entertainment industry just being lucky enough to be born down the street from the Fugees. They brought me in this business. That was my foundation. Tried to intern for them, or I did, whatever. Personal assistant work. I was a little kid. But that was the great steps of like getting into the business. And then I'm going to fast forward after high school. I got an internship with XXL Magazine. This is back when magazines were print. Vibe Magazine. I interned for
Source.
No, I didn't. I worked with Source, but not interning. June Ambrose, which was Jay-Z's stylist at the time. I was starting in fashion. And then, long story short, I got an internship with Billionaires Boys Club. And then that was my first job. Like they hired me, put me on salary, healthcare, dental care, those type of good things. And then from there, working with Pharrell is how I met everyone else. Russell Simmons, Wale, Kid Cudi, things like that.
So what kind of stuff did you do when you were, kind of working at Billionaires Boys Club?
I was working under the wholesale distributor where all we did was when shipments come in, we pack up the boxes. We'd be in a basement on Wooster Street in Soho, and we pack up the boxes. He got fired because on a Christmas, let's say the week before Christmas, whatever, the weekend, a package came in and he left all the boxes on the sidewalk. And we're talking about like $300,000 worth of clothes. The clothes were very expensive at the time. So they got stolen. And the boss man doesn't know if you did that intentionally, whatever. He really was rushing to go catch a flight. And I just think he genuinely forgot the flight was more important at the time.
Well, years later, your man Scott still got your back. So I guess that really shows who he is at the heart.
Well, no, I came back to work and he was fired. And they told me, you got to start now. You taking his role. I was like, oh, like just do it on me. Like, oh, wow, okay. And I was like kind of sad. Like, damn, my man got fired. And then he came in, cleaned up his stuff. And he was like, yeah, man, I messed up. I remember he was just sad. I was like, yeah, I felt sad for him. Like, because I know he ain't that type of person. Anyway, And then, so I did wholesale distribution, marketing, directing, got it on shows. As a team, we got it on shows, HBO Entourage, Run's House, music videos, like product placement as much as possible for the outside of our team, Pharrell and Star Trek.
Amazing. So you clearly have an entrepreneurial mindset. How do you use that when you approach, working with talent and just kind of being in these entertainment spaces?
The entrepreneur mindset. I mean, for me, I always try to find holes in people's operation and then say, hey, I think just give advice or say I could fix this or contribute to it to show them what they might be lacking on. I'm very big on that sometimes. That's not always the best route, but I'll do something and have the bosses see it. Especially if I'm right by it.
Right. I think that's important because, sometimes when you're so close to a project, you can't see the holes or the mistakes or where you could leverage because you're so focused on one thing, you might not look at it a certain way.
That's right.
So you've worked with some, really large concerts. What's it like working with, A-listers at, major venues and stadiums? What advice do you have for people that are trying to do this stuff?
I think, advice I would give is do not groupie out. Even if you are a big fan of somebody, you're there to work and you got to treat them as a human being, cater to their needs. At the end of the day, I personally feel like when you work with celebrities, no matter what the job title is, you're just a glorified babysitter. And you just got to make sure they get their baby bottles and all these little things together because they're needy, and they're used to the room just doing what they say do. And it is what it is. Yeah, I think that's it. There's more, but...
So what pitfalls, should you look out for when you're planning live events or trying to, do some of these things?
Timing, to me, is the ultimate key, especially when we do live shows. If you go over by 1 millisecond, they charge you the next day rate. And then next thing you know, you're in the red, or your talent's in the red, whoever is paying for everything. And you don't want that. You do that too much, you have a bad reputation in the system of venues and stuff, because they all share information with each other. They go, oh, don't work with that person. They bring people who smoke weed there. They bring whatever they want to say.
Right. Their people trash the bathroom. They don't tip well. Right. Little stuff like that.
Most people sneaking in. Yeah. So you want to be very mindful of the venue. Have respect for the venue reps and the runners. The runners are people who, like, they get in our waters. Let's say just super last minute stuff. Water. Like I used to do fashion shows, and when you do fashion shows, women catch their period. Super random. Sometimes right before they're about to walk out. So a runner is somebody. Yeah, we say, look, we need tampons. Like, you got to go find this shit.
You got to go to Walgreens, the one that's open 10 blocks from here.
Yeah. It'd be like malfunctions like that. I used to walk around with pads, and people used to be like, why you always have pads on you? Because that's I style models a lot, and they, life happens, so you got to be ready.
I think that's one of those things where it's like, you don't know until you know, and then once you experience it, you're like ready for it.
Yeah. So
yeah, kind of talking about the fashion world, talk about some of the stuff you've done and, what goes into kind of planning a fashion show and getting that going.
Fashion shows. So with fashion, I've worked with Oscar de la Renta, R.I.P., Donna Karan, Marc Jacobs, Louis Vuitton. I just did Kid Super. Anyway, so with fashion shows, it's a whole range of things, but it's all the same. It's all production, except with fashion. Example, working with Kid Super, he had a deal collaboration with Puma, and we had to learn what was in that contract. They wanted a minimum on that runway, 7 looks head to toe. He had to be wearing certain things. So we have to be very mindful of certain contracts. It all depends on the client. But for the most part, the fashion show's job, at least originally, I can't speak for today, it is stylists and buyers and press. So you invite Vogue and stuff. It's not a show like as far as entertainment. It's supposed to help them make their money back.
Right. Yeah. So have you seen that kind of change? I kind of noticed this fashion week that it was like what was characterized as models, and maybe like you said, the people in the crowd is totally different than when I started 10 years ago. And, even I'm not at the beginning of it, but I've noticed this shift.
Bryant Park. I don't know if you remember the days when it was in Bryant Park. That's
by Cellar Bar, right? That was always the after parties at Cellar Bar over there.
All over there. This to me was the height of the height. It was super professional. Now it's so much like sporadic fashion shows and people that would never. Because Bryant Park, it was whoever owns that or runs that. You can't just do a fashion show. You have to get approved. Now it's like me and you could put on a fashion show about.
I did. I've helped with fashion shows all the time.
Yeah, it's just different because I don't know what it's about today. I'm seeing and nothing wrong with it. I think it's great. I'm seeing handicapped people, all types of just things, which I think
more open, right? It's inclusiveness, right?
Yes, it is, and I think that's bad and good because it's not, fashion is not about that, and it's not about being fly neither. It's just you need a I don't know. It's different today in fashion. Like I can't example. Back in the day, you get sample sizes. I don't know how sample sizes work today because now I wear 13. I used to model. They couldn't get me a 13. I had to wear 9 because 9 is the sample size. Much my feet hurt, but the point is, that's great for a new model, I guess. I don't know how it works now with all it being all over the place.
Right. I think that's one thing, dabbling in the modeling game, coming from the entertainment world, is that, there's certain metrics because that's the metrics of the clothes, right? That clothing fit best at a certain length and a certain width, and these metrics are what mattered, right? Whereas I think now it's, more about the show, the presentation, maybe influencers and content creators and more notable people are walking, and that's the angle, right? Where it's not necessarily about showcasing the clothes to the media and the press to report on your new styles. It's more, let's make a show and have my brand attached to it, right?
Yeah, I think it's about a message that they don't really care about. They're just all doing it for the money. It's just out of nowhere, like in June, now everyone celebrates the rainbow. I'm from the 90s where that you never saw that till 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm happy for that. I'm not against it. I just think it's they're not doing it for the right reasons. They're just doing it because that's the trend. Let's hop on it. We don't really care or like it, but we're going to hop on it.
Right, exactly. You're kind of responding to the marketplace instead of really kind of making the marketplace and being the trendsetters and the industry leaders that people would look to Fashion Week knowing that they would never be able to get that stuff, but maybe there would be a bag design that was inspired by the show, right?
Yeah, because I don't think Rolex or Hermes is going to change their overall aesthetics, no matter what that looks like, before trends. No, this is Rolex. We in our box. We don't change it because you guys say whatever. This is what we are.
Right, because square watches are the cool thing. We're not gonna.
No, adopt to us or don't buy it. It's really that simple. There's stuff for everyone. I don't think everything needs to be for everyone. I think, it's like, be selective.
So what kind of mistakes did you kind of make on your way and stuff that you've kind of learned and, help you pivot in these entertainment world?
Mistakes? Definitely don't speak your mind too much. Stay out your feelings. Don't voice your opinion there, definitely. Even when you know something's not going to work, just let it crash.
Sometimes I got to learn, right? It's like sometimes I told you so isn't what you need to say.
Yes, because it's a very ego-driven environment, no matter who you're talking to. The celebrity or the person behind the scenes. Everyone's got their ego. They've done this. They know this. Their ding-a-ling is bigger than your ding-a-ling, whatever. So
right. My bank account's bigger than yours.
Yep.
I got more plaques on the wall than you.
So you learn to just especially know your place. I also agree with like another mistake I've made, but I've learned is like you got to win through action, not through argument, because it is what it is. You can't keep voicing your opinion about stuff.
Right. I think that's important. Where like, especially in the entertainment world, a lot of people say what they're going to do and what they can do and what they're about to do. And then there are people that just do it, right? If you're like, hey, like I'm going to get you this deal, I'm going to make this happen. And you just do it. Like that's how you succeed. That's what people respect. That's what people that are doing stuff respect, right? We don't respect that you can tell me what you can do. We respect because you're doing it.
So that is true. But I want to add on, I wish I built better alliances. Meaning that, let's say 50 Cent. Remember when he had SMS audio? He had his own headphones, but Jimmy Iovine shut that down. That's why that don't exist no more, because it was a conflict of interest with his boss at the time. So therefore, Dr. Dre, he's like, I got my own headphones of Beats by Dre. So you can live by action, but if you don't have the right alliances, because you can do stuff and it works, but then somebody's going to be jealous of you and shut you down. And they might have more than you. But they're like, that's a potential threat. I got to make sure that doesn't exist.
Right. And you got to sometimes have, like you said, these alliances. It's better to work together than to potentially be an adversary of someone, especially if they're, have a bigger gun or a bigger pocket than you.
Yeah. Or just better relationships because they got friends and.
Well, yeah, that's ammo, right? That's ammo in your gun. It doesn't have to actually be figurative ammo. Like, if you can make phone calls and text messages and make things happen, like, that's just as good as that.
Yeah, because a big lesson I was taught was you need the 3 M's: money, media, and muscle. And muscle don't got to be people in the streets. It could be lawyers, doctors, whatever.
Politicians, right?
Yes, politicians. But always have just strength around you.
So what kind of moments have stood out in your career? Some that you're like, wow, I can't believe I did that. Or, that was such a great, growing, experience for me.
One of the biggest moments was, so before working with Pharrell, my 9 to 5 was at Radio City Music Hall in Madison Square Garden. I made cotton candy, pretzels, hot dogs, food and beverage. And the point is, I remember we was on the Glow in the Dark tour with Kanye West. This was like 2007. And I remember quitting the job. The next year I was on the stage. And I was on stage with Pharrell, Busta Rhymes. We was all like mosh pitting. Lupe Fiasco, all of us. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow. And when I walked in the building, everyone was like, oh, look at Scott. He's back. I said, nope. I'm here with Pharrell and Kanye West. And
I'm going backstage. You see this All Access pad?
Yeah, I was talking so much. I was really happy, though. I was like, yo, I can't believe I'm here. This is all a dream that I want to make happen. Because I used to put them on my wall. I used to have Pharrell on my wall like, oh, man, one day I'm going to work for him. I couldn't believe it. That was like my most biggest moment.
I think that's one of those things, right? When you realize when you go from the one side of the rope to the other side of the rope.
Well, it shows you that your brain is soil. What you plant in it will harvest. So you really do need to be mindful of like how you think of yourself. And I think that's why Tupac's dead. He just kept thinking about death and negative stuff, man. You got to think about what you really want in life. You want a mansion, I don't know, girls, whatever. And be Hugh Hefner with your life, man. You can live a good life.
Right? Just visualize it.
Yeah.
Right? That's what they keep telling me. Just visualize greatness and you will become greatness.
Kanye West saw himself equivalent to Ralph Lauren, Walt Disney, Steve Jobs. Oh, you always hear in these interviews.
I'm Apple. I'm just a brand that I walk and I'm Apple.
That billionaire. He put the work in. Don't get twisted. But he became that billionaire because he saw himself at that level of life. So I always tell people, monitor how you see yourself. It's highly important. And Kanye West Genius documentary was just so much proof of that.
Right? Like you just see him of just like one track mind. Like I'm just going to do what I'm going to do and make it happen. Even if they're ignoring me at the label and they're calling the security to get this guy out of here.
He saw himself in high regard, regardless of where he stood in life. That's important to witness.
No, whatever's going on now, we can't speak on, but, the path to greatness is, what we are, chiming in on.
That's right.
So what are some common mistakes that talent make when they're kind of, working with managers or agents and, trying to kind of build that up?
They don't know who to hire. They don't pay attention to their books. They don't have the right lawyers.
How do you know that? How do you know who to hire? What are some tips when you're trying to, maybe vet that if you're an artist?
In my personal opinion, I like Russ, the rapper Russ. And he said he just looked at like Kanye's team. He found that, his booking agent is this lady, I forgot her damn name right now. But this person's manager. See who's behind the people you want to be behind. Like Master P. He looked at Michael Jackson's career. Who was his lawyer? Then he called them and went to his office. The lawyer said it would be $25,000 for me to just even talk to you. Master P put the cash on the table. He said, I want to learn the music business. He said, get a distribution deal. It was that simple. He said, that's it? I paid you $25,000 to know that? But he said that was the best advice he could have gave him. That's how he stayed independent. He didn't even know a distribution deal existed. So,
right, he would have just done what everyone else was telling him to do.
But he went to the people that are winning and said, Michael Jackson, who's on his team? This person, who's on their team? So that's it. Study who's on somebody's team.
Right, I think that's great advice, right? It's like do the research, don't just expect the right answer to just fall in your lap, right? Like the right manager, the right agent, any of these professionals, they're doing stuff, especially at a high level, right?
Yep.
They're maybe picking and choosing the top people that they might want, or they might already be just so busy with what they have that like they're not thinking about the new artist, right? They're not thinking about the new. But those are obviously people that are doing stuff of what you're trying to do.
Just pull up on them and let them know you admire their work and you respect them and you want to be under them.
So how do you see kind of technology kind of helping with, the next generation of, talent development? AI going to be this, revolution? Where do you see it kind of fitting in?
Yeah, that's a very interesting subject. It's definitely taken over. I don't know what it's going to do. I have a feeling that the government will get involved. This is my prediction. The government will get involved and say, hey, we can't use Justin's name or his voice, likeness, anything without his consent. Or they're going to have to come in and, figure it out eventually. But I don't know. It is unique. It is.
Right, it's definitely one of these huge, things that are obviously on the legal side in the entertainment space is one of these really big issues. And, like you mentioned, they are having legislation. There is, Congress and different states are legislating on this, right? Tennessee passed the Elvis Act to kind of extend their name, image, and likeness to prevent, like you said, these AI replicas. So it's really going to influence, the next generation of entertainment. But I also see benefits. We saw the Tupac hologram. We saw Luke Skywalker being recreated in The Mandalorian. Like, it's like there are values and there are uses, but it has to be monetized, right? It has to be done right. Like, everyone's got to get theirs. And, that's where I see it is like, how do we now use this technology to make money? Right. Like I've seen talent agents that are talking about, hey, well, you want to buy me for well, you could pay for one commercial. Then you can just use AI to put me in 3 different scenes and whole different product SKUs. And now you're paying for one commercial and you're getting 3. Right. And now I could scale down the rate because I'm spending less time doing it. So there is some creativity that's going to happen. And I think those that see that and embrace it are going to, be positioned for that next, leap in their career.
I agree.
So what about, advice for those who are trying to maybe work on more of, the production or management side, right? Maybe not the talent side, but those who are kind of looking to be on, the stuff that you do. What advice do you have for them?
I say, just like earlier, like study the artists that have like production you like. It could be Doja Cat or whoever, and just say, all right, let me Google their managers, tour managers, and email them or text them or pull up on them however you can. Let's say it starts there.
Right. It's like one of those things where like in the entertainment industry, it's all about who you know and putting yourself out there and kind of coming, like you said, hey, I respect your work. You're doing great stuff. How can I help? How can I learn from you? And it's not always like what they can give to you. How much can you pay, right? That's always like the conversation that really ends it for most people. Like, oh, what are you going to pay me? What do you mean, what am I going to pay you to help you grow in this career? Like, what are you going to put in to get this opportunity, right? Yeah. It's a mentality and it's different.
Yeah, it is too much of that. What are you going to pay me? I didn't get paid for years, 5 years maybe, before anything popped off with me. So, and
there wasn't an expectation of it. Like I was the connections, the path, what you're trying to do, that's the payoff, right? And that's not been the mentality. I think that, I don't want to say kids these days and sound like the old man in the room, but I would say it's a different thought process of, people's time versus, what they're getting for it.
It definitely is. Now,
And I don't see how that applies to the entertainment world, right? Like, as people that are successful and have been in it, like, this is kind of part of the experience, right? Like, yeah, there's people that are making a lot of money, but like most people aren't making a lot of money on this, right? So like the ability to do that and to be able to do something you love, that's part of the value, being able to, like you said, you worked, as an intern, you were able to move up the chain and get more experience as you proved your value and showed how you can be an asset. And
yeah.
That's how I think you win in today's world, right? You build this resume, you build this portfolio, and professionals, creators, whoever you are, as much as it sounds like you have to pay your dues, and it doesn't necessarily have to be monetarily, but you have to show the commitment to what you're doing, right? That you're willing to go above and beyond what everyone else is, because to really succeed in this, you need that, right? Like going back to your earlier point of catering to A-list stars that are getting paid 6-7 figures to do a an hour set, 40-minute set, like this is big time stuff, right? They don't just let anyone in the room dealing with this stuff, right? There's too much at stake. But you have to grow to the level to be able to even handle that.
Yeah, I will also add that if you can help people make money, you will be on their good side. And I think now it's easier to help someone make money than ever, depending on who they are and your status. But
right, that's another thing, showing your worth, right? It's like, I know how everyone, and trust me, I have this conversation all the time of like, oh, well, I want to manage them, but they don't want to sign until I start doing this and that. And it's like, you know what? If you really want them and this is something that you believe in, go make that money, like go bring that deal to their table. And it's like, yo, you want this deal? Then this is how things have to go. Right? Like you said, you proved what you can do. You showed it to them and,
hell yeah.
You got to pay to play.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite part about being in the entertainment industry?
I like the way the audience responds to things. I like seeing people say this moment changed my life or whatever the case may be. Because to me, the entertainment industry helps with escapism. You get to live through an artist or through an actor or whatever the case may be, even fashion. You get to be someone else, you put on certain outfits. So I like what it does to people, the impact. Like Bob Marley, Elvis Presley, all these guys made impact in the world, That's what you want. It's people who's going to change things for the better. I like that part.
When you kind of seeing what you're a part of that.
Yeah, to say I participated in that because, Martin Luther King didn't do it by himself. Nobody do it by themselves. My mom always say, everyone sees the chandelier, but nobody sees the nails it takes to keep it up, and that's the celebrity. They're shiny, they're bright, but Jay-Z, Beyonce, they have a whole team that helps them bring it to life.
Right. And I think that's one of these really overlooked points in the entertainment world. It's like the most successful people have successful people around them, have people that know what they're doing and have a track record for success, right? It goes back to your point of, Master P wanting to hire Michael Jackson's lawyer. It's like, well, like you worked with, one of the biggest albums of all time ever at that point. Yeah. Right? Like you had Pepsi deals, like you had revolutionary stuff, right? That tour that they did was probably one of the largest grossing tours ever at that point for Thriller. Teach me, right?
And make things that live forever, because Thriller's going to be here forever, Not many people can say that. I work with Outkast, and to see them be one of the first hip-hop groups to win a Grammy, things like that. I work with DMX. I want to be around people that are going to make things that last. That's why I get Kanye with the Walt Disney, all that comparison, because these names, George Washington, whatever, these names will forever be here to the end of time.
Right? It's like, there's a Thriller Sing, right? My kid loves it, and it's like, they just did like a 10-minute thing on Netflix of like the Thriller using the Sing characters, and it's like, boom, this now exposed this song to like a whole new generation of kids that have no idea that it's Michael Jackson, but they know that it's this Thriller from the Sing.
Yes. Yeah, everybody know Michael Jackson.
So what's kind of the future for you in the entertainment and, fashion space? What do you kind of see on the horizon, and, what are you trying to do?
Right now, I think the 3 subjects that matter the most are media personalities, content creators, and streamers. Some will technically dibble-dabble into more than one, but all in all, my future right now is talent acquisitions. I just want to get and sign as much kids as possible. Say, listen, we can help you turn your craft into cash and them dreams into reality.
So how do you kind of, decide, like, what are some factors that you're looking at? Is it all social media driven, or do you, look at other stuff?
I see how they impact A room. The room can mean social media, can mean a real room. I see their aura early, and yeah, because a lot of people I've worked with, they wasn't even who they were, but it was just like, no, I think you got next. I see your energy, and that's how I vibe with it. You feel it. It's just like when you like someone, you just feel it. And when you see a star, you can feel it.
Right. I kind of always say that, like, I know how to sense out the most important person in the room. Like, I can just be in a room in a networking event and be like, yo, I get, like, that person over there. Like, I don't know who that is, but, like, I just know I need to talk to them. And it's like, I don't know how, it's like an aura, it's an energy. It's just like a presence that they have in the way they're posturing. Obviously, if people are going over them, whatever, that's a giveaway, but you can just sense it. And, like, how many times I've called it out is, like, kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, energy is energy. You read it. You know what I'm saying? And nothing wrong with that. That's the energy you want to have when you're the boss.
right, and like you're saying, like, as an entertainer, like, or a creator or an influencer, because, like, I know that's the word these days. They don't like that word. I mean, I feel a certain way about it, but it's like you're influencing culture, and people care what you do because you influence them, right? With what you're wearing, what you're singing, how you're rapping, the way you dunk, the way you dribble, like your style. This is how you influence culture. And that's what matters, right? That's today's celebrities, right? It's not the guy that always is the best looking, best shooting, whatever guys. It's that guy that maybe has that cool aura about him, but he's not who you typically think of as that, right? Like Post Malone, when I think about him, like, he's not who I would think about as like a pretty big pop act that they would be performing at New Year's with Dick Clark. But his look and his persona are just entirely different, right? Like, and he's doing, the biggest stage in the world pretty much, right? Like New Year's Eve, Ryan Seacrest.
Yes.
So amazing. So I guess to conclude, like, is there anything out there that, people should kind of know about when they're trying to build their careers and, try to make it to the next level?
You need to have a vision for yourself, one, then find at least 5 people with the blueprint of the same vision of yourself. You're not going to use their whole blueprint, but you're going to take a piece of each person's blueprint. And then alliances is key now more than ever. No matter how that alliance may look, you want to just get with people who are moving and shaking the way you want to move and shake. And then expand your brand. I always say, like, you got to get out of your territory and go other places. I don't care what the job title is, because now, especially now, everything be evolving. But, Texas is growing, Florida's growing, Dubai's growing, London's growing, and you want to have relationships all over. Because, people's careers die out. Everybody's career is going to have a dry moment. For better or for worse, it's going to have a dry moment. And you're going to have to make sure you got a lot of plan B, C's, D's, whatever, to just say, all right, while that's cold, I'm going to go over here where the sun's hot. But always stay next to the heat.
Right. I think that's really important, is the kind of thing, especially in today's, internet market. Like, everything is international. Everything you do is global. Everything you do can mostly be accessible anywhere, right? Certain countries like China maybe have some content restrictions, but almost every other country in the world can probably access what you're doing, right? So to limit yourself to your local area, your state, your, region, you're really kind of missing out on literally hundreds of millions of people, hundreds of millions of potential fans. And if you can find, like you said, blueprint and maybe some people that are doing well in other markets, that might be a route for you to focus on and to look into and diversify your income.
Yes, I agree. I definitely agree.
Well, yeah. I mean, this was so great. I really think that, you're able to really give everyone some great insight. And, I thank you so much for your time. And, tell everybody where they can kind of find you and learn more about what you're up to.
Great Scott McKenzie on Instagram. And I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's it. Great Scott McKenzie on Instagram. I don't really do Snapchat or Facebook. It's Scott McKenzie, I think.
Right, and just follow him at the hot spot, right? You see my man wherever he is, that's where you're in the right. That's when you're in the right room. So if you see the great Scott in the room, then that's where you probably want to stay.
Yes.
So thanks everybody again for tuning in, and to our sponsor Vouch. Make sure to check them out and use my affiliate code listed in the video description, and make sure to follow me on all social platforms, Justin J ESQ, for all past episodes.